Hello, I'm Yang Ray. Ultimately, one of the questions that we have to face is whether we are happy. One may look happy, but no one knows the real answer given the hardships of life and the sophistication of one's attitude. Basically, people take two entirely different approaches in pursuing and defining happiness. Some prefer to enjoy the inner quietness of his or her life. Others are satisfied with the material comforts. Pleasures are quick to disappear. Misery is the last thing people want. What are the lasting values that most of us hold so dear? Do we have any universal answers to the question of happiness? Joining us now here is Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, who teaches psychology at Harvard University. But before we go to the interview, let's look at this report.
I think happiness is a feeling. It's a kind of a self-satisfaction. And I think happiness may come from different kinds of ways. For example, of just a material possession, or just one demands more on the material possession that bring him happiness, or from the spiritual satisfaction. That's come from what you did for others. And for example, if you help others realize their dreams, I think that kind of happiness is really great.
I should say I feel very happy because I have a very beautiful and lovely daughter and a handsome husband who loves me very much, and a respectable job. And I'm now studying as a doctoral candidate. And I get a lot of encouragement, support, and love from my family members, my colleagues, and friends. So I feel very happy.
After so many years of working as a teacher, I think I'm one of the most happiest person in the world because first of all, I have experience. Well, I have experience in teaching, I have experience in handling relationships with people, and also I have experiences in handling family problems. So as a mature woman, I just say I can enjoy a very happy life.
Happiness is the journey itself rather than the particular destination. And when we set out for a particular destination, we can keep it in mind. But we should also remember to enjoy some interesting things and to enjoy some happy moments along the journey. In this way, I think we can get more happiness from our daily life. And happiness can be something like a daily necessity in every moment, rather than a luxury for the great moments.
Welcome to Dialogue, sir.
Thank you.
I'm afraid your research targets a very difficult question. That's a question of happiness. Is it easy for you to define this notion? Welcome to Dialogue, sir.
Thank you.
I'm afraid your research targets a very difficult question. That's a question of happiness. Is it easy for you to really define this notion or attitude very easily?
It's a very difficult question, and yet it's the question that has been asked the most often. It's been asked by Socrates, by Confucius, it's been asked by modern philosophers and psychologists. And it's been asked so often because everyone pursues happiness. Everyone wants to be happy or happier. So I believe that asking this question and asking it in a scientific, academic way is a very important pursuit in and of itself.
I believe we share much the same concern. In the present-day city, we inevitably ask, by the end of the day, why, with the rise of our living standards, comes the decline in our life quality? I'd like to have your take.
Yeah, so what has happened, and this has happened globally, whether it's in China, in the United States, or in Europe, is that standards of living have gone up. At the same time, happiness levels have not gone up, and depression, anxiety have gone up significantly. And the question is why? There was recently research done on women in Europe and the United States. And what they asked them was whether they enjoy the quality of their lives and specific experiences. And what they found, to their surprise, was that these women were not enjoying their times with their kids and families, which surprised the researchers a great deal. Of course, they loved their family, it was the most meaningful thing in their lives, and yet their quality of the experience was not positive. And when they probed further and asked why, they realized that when the women were with their families, they weren't really there. Their minds were distracted. They were thinking about their work, or they were thinking about what they had to do later, or the cell phone was going off at the same time. And they weren't able to enjoy the experience itself. This is symptomatic of the modern world. We're so busy, we're so distracted, we don't have time to enjoy the here and now, the present experience.
So fundamentally, what kind of persons do you think should be viewed as happy?
Well, the person who is happy is first and foremost the person who accepts the full range of emotions. You know, there are two kinds of people who don't experience negative emotions, such as anxiety or anger or depression at times or unhappiness. The two kinds of people are, one, the psychopaths, and two, dead people. So if we experience negative emotions, it's actually a good sign. It means we're neither psychopathic nor dead. The problem in our modern world is that people don't give themselves the permission to be human, to experience the full range of emotions. And the paradox is that when we give ourselves the permission to be human, to experience negative emotions as well, that's when we're most likely to be happy in the long run. So a person who is happy is a person who accepts, him or herself accepts their emotions.
And in this little book, you said clearly that those who have a purposeful life might feel happy. And you cited the example of mountaineering to illustrate why a purposeful life at least paves the way for pursuing happiness. How do you define this example and its implications?
Yes, a happy life is a life that comprises both pleasure, on the one hand, enjoyment of the journey, and at the same time, a purposeful end or destination, something people find meaningful. So if I get up in the morning and say, my family life is meaningful to me, my work is meaningful to me, then I'm much more likely to lead a happy life than if I get up and say, just another day, let it just be the weekend.
One day, $1.
Yes, that's right.
Well, it's good to set the purpose for a whole day's work or for the lifelong journey. However, once you have started the journey, is it so important to always keep the purpose clearly in your mind?
Mm-hmm. It is important, though it's rarely possible to keep it always in mind. And ultimately, what happiness is made of are the day-to-day experiences. Do I enjoy spending time with my family? Or do I do it at all? Again, in our modern world, we hardly have time for family and friends or for quality time with people who are dear to us. Happiness comprises of many small moments, one step at a time. And the key is to learn to focus and to concentrate on the day-to-day, on these experiences. Ultimately, these experiences add up to a happy life.
Exactly. Life is full of momentary happiness or quiet moments. However, life is also full of trivial things. You may be a very ambitious politician, but you have to face the trivials that life provides every day. Do you think happiness tends to be carried away easily by those small and trivial things, and eventually you forget the purpose of life, so you feel unhappy?
Yes, very often people forget the purpose of life, or they forget what is truly important to them. One of the things that, one of the exercises that psychologists recommend doing, and there is a lot of research done on it, is the gratitude exercise. So not taking the positive things in our lives for granted, but rather every night before going to bed or in the morning when waking up, to remind oneself what one is grateful for, whether it's one's family, whether it's one's work, whether it's the fact that one is breathing and healthy. And when we remind ourselves of these seeming trivialities, we remind ourselves that there is plenty of reason to be happy and to appreciate life. The problem again in our modern world is that we're running around so fast, like rat racers, we don't have time to enjoy our present experiences.
When we talk about the purpose, and I personally believe a purpose is so important for a meaningful life, for most of the time, in most cases, the purpose remains unattainable. Between the wishes and the reality, there's a long journey. And throughout the long journey, you might probably encounter setbacks of different kinds. Some people tend to say in prayers by the end of the day, by talking to God. Others would give it up. So resignation turns out to be one of the attitudes that so many of us who lead a secular life would employ to remain detached somehow. What do you think?
Yeah, resignation, which is highly associated with depression, is prevalent in our culture. And part of it is because people have lost a sense of purpose in their lives. The important thing to remember about purpose is that its significance lies not so much in its attainment, but rather in having it. So very often when we reach a goal, say get a promotion at work or get a raise, we think, okay, now I'm happy. But that happiness doesn't last. It lasts for maybe a week or a month, and then we go back to where we were before. So the purpose of a purpose is having it. Having it so that we continue the pursuit, so that we feel that our life is meaningful. Attaining it is less important.
Once you have set the purpose, it is the journey itself that's becoming more meaningful instead of really attaining the purpose or top of the mountain. Is that what you are saying?
Yes, what I'm saying is that the journey matters.
Experience of the journey.
The experience, and the experience of the journey is made better when we have a purpose, when we strive for someone. Again, the attainment of the purpose is less important.
A lot of the people nowadays would say, hey, don't think too much about the future. Let's live for today. One day, $1. So they seek pleasures. They give up in seeking material comforts. And in doing that, they put today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow together with a measurement of how much I have gained physically. What do you think of their attitude?
This attitude, which again is prevalent, can lead to well-being, but only short-term. As human beings, we need to think of a purpose. Whether we were created by God this way or whether evolution created us this way, we need to be looking forward. We need to think about the future. And if we don't, if we frustrate this need and say, okay, I'm just living for today, we cannot fulfill our potential for happiness. In other words, what we need to lead a fulfilling life is both learning to enjoy the present and at the same time have a future goal or goals toward which we strive.
All right, thank you very much. We have to leave you there for the moment. You are watching Dialogue with Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, who teaches psychology at Harvard University. Today, we are here to address one of the most difficult issues in our life, the question of happiness. Stay with us. We'll be back after this short break.